welcome to the FSF Popcast live show.
Well, hello there, kids and cadets. Welcome to the FSF Popcast. This is our Live at 5, our specialty live show each and every week where we're coming on. Well, we're trying to get it to be each and every week. Let's preface that. There'll be some weeks where we don't come on, but this is a special edition because today we are talking about the season finale of the awesomeness that has been X-Men 97. We hope that you had prepared yourself for this episode by readying your emotional damage blanket and bringing it out with you, because there was emotional damage. And there's a lot to get into. So we're very excited about this. Oh, by the way, say hi to producer John, because I'm really bad at introductions. Hi, John.
How's it going?
Oh, dandy. So, all right, like I said, today we're talking about this right here, this beautiful show, the season review of X-Men 97. We're going to focus a lot of our information today on the finale itself. Of course, we may dip back into some other stories that we're furthered on into with the season finale. But primarily, I think our discussion today is going to be talking about the season finale itself and where do we go from here. So what does that mean? That means there's going to be all kinds of spoilers. So if you have not watched X-Men 97, the season finale today, you have two choices. You can either, one, be okay with spoilers and continue watching, or two, come back when you've watched the season finale and then not be upset that we gave spoilers out. So this is your one and only warning that there will be spoilers given, because basically the rest of this show is just all kinds of spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, there's spoilers for 20-some-odd-year-old comic books, but there's still spoilers if you haven't read those. And
if you haven't read them or you haven't watched the episode, it could still be a spoiler. So
yeah, or if you're a weirdo like me who reads the last chapter of the book and then looks for clues along the way. Yeah, I do. Drives everybody I know crazy. It's a lot of fun.
That would drive me insane, because I would feel like the whole story is ruined.
No, it's like, okay, there's some movies where you get that plot twist at the end and then you have to watch the movie again to see what you missed along the way.
Right.
I'm thinking of Psycho, Fight Club, stuff like that. Well,
okay.
I just save myself a watch.
Okay. No, there's that.
I'm weird. I admit it.
That's John's take on pop culture. Anyhow, yeah. So before we jump into anything, just as a reminder, I want to remind everybody that our show is brought to you and made possible by the support of our show partners. That's Storyline Editing Software, TCT, where fandom meets fashion, Level Up Lightsabers, and where it's the only lightsaber guaranteed to be better than a stick, and of course, Monkey Cult Coffee. Join the cult. I am a cult member proudly, and their coffee is absolutely stinking amazing.
Oh yeah, I bounce back and forth between them and another brand that I like to support that I'm not going to mention here, because Monkey Cult Coffee makes some wonderful, fabulous stuff.
They do. Absolutely fabulous. I'm hoping that they take this new cigar blend that they have and they make it a full-time thing instead of a but anyway, we can talk about that another time. We have X-Men to talk about before I go off on a coffee diatribe, which that was just kind of building up. Right. All right, so first things first, kind of getting into this episode. This was part 3 of a 3-part season finale. Yep. And I did like the fact that now, as we got into this episode, this guy named Roberto that's been kind of hanging out all season, just kind of there, hiding from his parents, not really sure what he was doing, why he was doing all these different things. All of a sudden, he's got a purpose. He's got an actual name. He's realizing what his powers are. And he's hitting on Jubilee kind of hard. But yeah,
he's a fun character.
He is. He's fun. I'm enjoying his character development from the point of finding out that he actually is a mutant to the point of, what do I do now? How do I proceed from here? Every time we have one of these new characters come into the X-Men fold, it's always kind of interesting to me to see how each one of them handles their mutancy differently.
Yeah. It's always a personal journey.
Yeah. So very cool to watch. Very exciting to watch. We've got that. We've got, and I didn't get a screen grab of this, but I absolutely love the fact that at the end of this episode, Mr. Sinister is basically the old guy from Scooby-Doo.
That was kind of good. I liked
I
it.
mean, we've gone from having him be this big, strong, powerful villain, evil in all these ways, and then he gets his power taken away. He's got this sad, wrinkly old face, and
Yep.
then who is becoming quickly one of my absolute favorite characters. Mocks him by showing him what his face looks like, and I
Yes.
died laughing.
Oh,
Well,
that
looks like this, and he went to the.
So what amused me around the same time was, so for Bastion to get to this state that he's in here in the picture,
Yes.
he ripped Cable's arm off and beat him senseless with it. I mean, anybody who has an older sibling, bigger cousins, whatever, the stop hitting yourself moment, where
Yeah.
they grab their own hand and start hitting. Yeah, it was just that. I kind of sort of had to laugh a little bit.
Hey, Brandon, welcome to the live show.
Yeah, good to see you. But yeah, the whole upgrading of Bastion was just terrifying and awesome at the same time.
Right? I kept waiting for him every time he would go into one of his, monologues. I kept waiting for him to say the name that you kept mentioning last week.
Onslaught?
Yeah, I kept waiting for him to say Onslaught. I kept waiting for him to go, because I am, and then he would say, his name again. And I'm like, what? Say Onslaught. You're definitely Onslaught. You look like Onslaught. Just say Onslaught.
Yeah. In the comics, Onslaught doesn't show up for about 2 years after what we're seeing now. But
fair enough. Yeah, it was an amazing finale.
Yeah. Absolutely loved
it. Okay. So, I also just want to point out, between the part 2 and part 3, the thing that I was most worried about was that Rogue went rogue and went over to Magneto's side of things, and I'm like, but Rogue, Sugar, no Sugar. But she didn't go full rogue.
But she was fighting on the moon. She was fighting Bastion on the moon.
Right.
That's where that was. Had to do a bit of looking to figure that out. And just in case anybody is curious, there actually is this area of the moon. It's called the Blue Area. It's in the comics. The Watcher's Tower is there. They actually have atmosphere there. The Fantastic Four have visited. It's kind of cool. It does exist. They didn't make a mistake in the animation.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure.
Just check.
I got some fights on Reddit this morning. And yeah, 7 a.m. arguing with people on Reddit. It's
John's day was complete.
Yeah.
He had coffee, he had X-Men, he had Reddit arguments. All his day was covered. Not that Blue Moon, Kathleen. Wrong Blue Moon. But thanks for playing.
Yep. Good stuff. Oh my.
Okay. So what's next, John? What's next on our...
Up next? Let's see here. You were kind of wondering about Wolverine and his adamantium.
Right. So I was stoked that they brought back the old suit. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Because they brought back everybody's old suits. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. Everybody kind of going back to their old original suits. Jean Grey had the big, librarian visors is what I always called them. And Cyclops had just that one face shield thing, and it was kind of cool seeing everybody kind of go back to the old original suits. And then of course Wolverine coming out in this. I was like, heck yeah. Still the wrong Blue Moon, Kathleen. But
Blue Moon beer.
She doesn't need your help, John.
Yeah.
She'll come up with those on her own. And seeing Wolverine like this, just absolutely, it was just. I was like, yeah, Wolverine,
wonderful.
and then they took my boy's adamantium away from him.
Yeah, that was kind of rough. Watch.
Yeah. So these are this is from part 2 into part 3, and seeing all the fallout from that, and seeing what was happening with them. Yeah.
Oh.
Brandon says reminds me of the end of Lightyear with the Alpha suits.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But
so is the adamantium going to go back in season 2? That's what I'm wondering. What do you
well,
think?
okay, so here's the fun thing in the comics, at least, which I realize there's going to be some deviation. All right. At one point, Wolverine does get his adamantium back, but he gets it back from Sabretooth. And there's a bit of a deal for having somebody else take the adamantium out of Sabretooth and put it into Wolverine in exchange for him becoming a Horseman.
Really?
Really? Which also
That's
kind of
good.
ties into the end of the episode.
So you think that's how they're going to do it?
It's possible.
All right.
Yeah, they're going to change stuff. No adaptation is ever 100%. You know, not even Peter Jackson. So we'll see what happens.
Battle of 5 Armies. Battle of 5 Armies. Anyway.
Anyway.
You're like, yeah, we're not getting into that conversation.
Oh, it could have been a 5-minute montage. Anyway. But we got a 3-hour movie, and I was okay with that.
Next on the FSF rants will be John talking about the Battle of 5 Armies.
You know, get Ben on here with me, and I'm sure we could go for an hour.
Oh, easily. You guys could go longer than the movie, I'm sure.
It's not hard. The source material is huge.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah. But Gable gets to talk to his parents.
I thought this was kind of a cool scene.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even though he's talking to Jean Grey, not the clone,
Mm-hmm.
it was still nice to see him sitting there talking with his parents of
Yeah.
sorts, you know.
Right.
Especially because leading up to this point of the of this scene, rather, every interaction that we had between Cable and Scott Summers was kind of terse, kind of like, you know, oh, what are you going to tell me, Dad? Now be careful and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, it was very cool. But it was cool just to kind of see them sit there and have a conversation that clearly has never been had between the three of them.
Right.
It was cool to see Cable's powers on full display, you know, when he was fighting against Jean Grey. You know, where obviously he was being controlled by Sinister because he had the little thingy here on his forehead,
Yeah.
little diamond. But I thought it was really cool. Where he says something to the effect of, "My mother had telekinesis. That stuff doesn't skip a generation," or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, tends not to skip a generation.
Right.
And then he just he thought he killed her, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Which also was part of my emotional damage tour, where I was like, no, not Jean Grey too. So yeah.
But, you know, at least he wasn't in black leather.
I absolutely loved that line where Scott tosses Cable the suit, and he's like, "What are we going to the circus? What, do you expect it to be black leather?" Which was, of course, a nod to X1, where Wolverine is, you know, Logan's talking there about how the suit isn't blue and yellow, and at least it's not blue and yellow.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of funny. That made me laugh.
Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite things in the episode, too, were all the cameos. You know, last week we saw Morph turn into Hulk, you know, Morph smash. That was great. But we got Silver Samurai, Daredevil, Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Omega Red, Crimson Dynamo, Doctor Strange, doing surgery in the dark.
Saw that, yeah.
Yeah, lit by candles. Alpha Flight, the team Wolverine was originally part of, showed up with, what's her name, Psylocke. You know?
Yeah, Brandon feels the same.
But I'm going to go ahead and warn Ben, if he's listening, just shut off your headphones for a minute, because probably my favorite cameo of the entire episode was this one right here. And that's Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Because, again, I was at home watching cartoons and reading comic books. At the end of the Spider-Man animated series, that is part of this Marvel animated universe, she gets lost at the end of the show. In the series finale, they don't know where she is.
Right.
And then it got canceled. So this kind of indicates that Peter finds her. You know, she comes back, she gets back into reality. And I mean, that's resolution we've been waiting 20 some odd years for, almost 30 years, right? I didn't look up the year of the show. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, I mean,
how dare you, John? How dare you?
I'm sorry. I had to do grocery shopping today too. It was a thing.
Oh, fine. Go be an adult. I see how it is.
Yeah. But yeah, to me that was great. It was a little nod to, hey, we haven't gotten to this show yet, but just so you know, things work out in the end.
Oh, and too, in the beginning of the episode, he was Morph was also Juggernaut.
Oh
So
yeah, that's
Juggernaut
right.
he had a quick cameo as Juggernaut as well.
Yeah.
Brandon says I think it's 1996, which would probably be pretty close, I would say.
I'll go with that.
We'll go with that. That sounds good, Brandon. We're gonna go with that. Clock you in at 96.
Yeah.
But that was a kind of a cool quick montage of all these different people. And then of course Captain America in the war room, Oval Office, wherever he was at, talking with the president and the rest of his board about the Magneto protocols, trying to get that ready to whether they were gonna shoot at the asteroid M.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and if you zoom in on the file, you can kind of see where they rate the different threats from Magneto, and then also his family members on the page.
I did not zoom in on that.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back. I'll have to go back and find that. Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought it was
the attention to detail is just making me very happy.
I'm down with that. I one of the other things I like too, and things that I hadn't noticed on other. Now I've seen this in the comic books, but I don't remember seeing this in other animated series. Was the ability of both Magneto and Professor Xavier Professor X to be able to use their mind powers to, their abilities rather, to like span the whole globe, for Magneto to shut down power all over the globe. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing that in any other animated series. So to see that in today's episode, I thought was kind of cool. And then to see what Magneto or Professor X was doing with Magneto, and I know that he can get into people's heads. I know that he could walk them through things, but the ability he had to reach everywhere, because like his power was through like the blue things, just the blue rings going all over the globe, and then Magneto's was the yellow rings going all over the globe. I just thought it was cool. I don't know why I tied into that so much, but I was like, oh, check that out. That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm still not sure exactly how it works to have everybody split up through time and space like that.
Right.
But the team gets split up in some interesting ways.
Yeah. I did like, before we move on to anything else, I also want to mention too, one of the things I most appreciate about this series versus the live action adaptation of X-Men that we've had thus far is that Rogue is not just somebody who sits in the corner and talks. Rogue kicks some serious butt in this episode.
Oh yeah.
When she's fighting, my brain just went blank. What's the dude's name?
Bastion.
Big guy. Bastion. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember that. All of a sudden, I'm going, the big guy, the big villain. Yeah. I mean, she's taking on Bastion one-on-one, and she's owning him pretty good for a while there. Until he flips the script on her. But for the most part, I mean, she, unlike the movies, she can fly.
Well, that's because in the cartoon, she took, Carol Danvers' powers and at least part of them. So
exactly, yeah. Rogue is the bomb for sure. For sure, yeah. And she was giving Bastion some bombs. This bomb and this bomb and.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So all right, cool.
Yeah, but then the whole time warp happens again.
Right.
And some of them go in the past.
So I was like, Egypt. I was like, oh no, are we getting apocalypse? Because I was not watching the clock very closely.
Okay.
I'm like, how much of this episode is left? Are we getting apocalypse built into this episode now?
Yeah.
As soon as we saw Egypt and it was the ancient Egypt, I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're getting apocalypse. And then in the other scene where he takes off his mask, says his name, and I saw the blue lips. I'm like, yeah, that's apocalypse.
Yep.
That's the blue mouth guy.
there's a bit of a resemblance between this guy and this guy.
Just a little one.
This guy and this guy.
Yeah, just a little one.
Which is great because that means they might be adapting one of the weirder comics that I remember, Rise of Apocalypse.
Right.
Which, I mean, the guy in the green hat is Kang.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, kind of a weird story, but still fun. And it's going to be interesting having Magneto and Xavier, you know, back there influencing Apocalypse to see what happens, you know.
How that moves forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and then there's well, go ahead and then I'll jump in on this part later.
So then we go from the distant past to the year, what did they say? The year 3960, right? Where Scott and Jean, Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon.
Yep. And they meet Mother Ascani, who, you know, we haven't had her voice actress on the show yet, but if she'd like to be on.
That would be Gates McFadden. We would love
Yes.
to talk with Gates McFadden.
Yep.
If you're not aware with who Gates McFadden is, that is Beverly Crusher from Star Trek TNG and Picard. So
Yes.
yeah, we would absolutely love to get Gates on the show.
Right. So she's actually shown up, Mother Ascani has shown up previously in the series. She showed up a few episodes ago as this individual,
Mm-hmm.
Rachel Summers. So she is actually a future daughter of Scott and Jean, which gets really weird because then she's helping raise Nathan Summers.
Yeah.
So as an old woman, 2,000 years in the future, she's helping raise her little brother. And then their parents show.
Family timelines are weird in comics.
They really are. And this, of course, goes into another comic from the distant past, The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, where they get sucked into the future to raise Nathan. Of course, in the comics, they get different bodies, which is weird. So nobody recognizes them. But still,
as you do.
It gets confusing. There was stuff happening back in the day.
Well, you know, more opportunity for fun.
Yeah. But, you know, the Rise of Apocalypse and Cyclops and Phoenix are great stories. Each one's only 4 issues. So if you can get them in a graphic novel format, it's not a huge read. It's not a huge cost. I recommend them both.
Sounds good. Yeah, JP was amazing as Morph, and he's another person we're reaching out to, trying to get on the show. So would love to be able to have him on and talk with him about that character development, because Morph is
Morph is great.
I absolutely love that humor of Morph. You know, flashing back to like it was I think the first or second episode when Remy's trying to figure out where Rogue is, and she's hanging out with Magneto, and they're at the Danger Room. This is the best told sex joke in X-Men history, by the way. He's standing there and is like, you know, looking at the bookings for all the Danger Room. Is like Rogue and Morph, 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 Rogue and Morph. You know, just boop, 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 and he just keeps hitting the button. Wonder what they're doing in there. Yeah, it made me laugh.
Anyway,
see, Carrie Walgren just posted that she was in episode 8.
Really? I'm
Really?
gonna have to check that.
Well, yeah, we'll have to go back and double check that. I'm sure she was. If she said she was in it, she was in. I just want to go see who she was. So, yeah, that's really cool. We're going to be interviewing Kari next month in June. We had to push her date back a little bit. She was busy with some. She got some new voice work opportunities. So work comes first. She can talk with us anytime. So,
yeah.
But we had to push that back a little bit.
Yeah, and the voice of Jean Grey is Jennifer Hale.
Yeah, who's been on the show.
Yeah, I was looking at the cast list. You know, I paused the credits and it's like, okay, so you've talked to her, you've talked to him, you've talked to him, you've talked to her. It was a fun list to go through.
It is. It was for me, you know, because you know, doing the bookings for the show, I was sitting there looking at it, going, got him, need him, got him, want him, need him, got him.
It's like being a comic book store. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. Same thing, just different format.
Right.
Yeah, really excited. So are we, Brandon. We're excited to be able to get Kari on the show. I think she's gonna have a lot of fun. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with her. So all right. So anything else that we need to cover for today?
I think that was most of it.
Okay.
I mean,
What about what are our thoughts for moving forward?
is season 2 out yet? When is season 2 coming?
We don't know yet. But it's not next Wednesday, and that's not soon enough. So
right now, I do remember. I think it was even while you were interviewing the cast, the original X-Men cast, that they were already working on season 2 before season 1 went up. And that was last year.
I was pretty sure that it was when we were talking with Lenore Zahn that she told us that they had already started for some stuff for season 2.
Yeah.
But she's like, we haven't gotten into it too much because they had done season 1 quite a while previously to that, but season 2 they were just starting to get into. So we still have your question for Kari, no problem there. But and we'll be posting some information about questions for fans to be able to ask her here shortly. So we've had the opportunity to have George Buza, the voice of Beast. We've had Cal Dodd, the voice of Wolverine. We've had Lenore Zahn, the voice of Rogue. Jennifer
Hale,
thank you, the voice of Jean Grey. The brain is not firing up on all cylinders today. So we've had a good portion of the cast on the show. And if we could get a few more, I mean, we love talking to voice actors, so we're going to do our best there. But yeah, so there's a lot happening with this series, and I'm curious. The two things I think moving into season 2 that I'm most curious about are now, number one, because I love Wolverine, always have.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what they're going to do about his adamantium and how they get it back, how they get him back to being Wolverine, the Wolverine that we know and love. And speaking of the Wolverine, okay, I don't think, did you mention that morph was Jean Grey for a quick scene?
I did not.
Okay, when he's at his bedside, he's like, she can't say this, but I can. I love you, Wolverine.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm a little curious on the interpretation of that going forward.
Right? Because what is he going to remember?
Right.
That's what I'm curious about.
Because when you're in shock, and
yeah, and he's going to have heard it in Jean's voice,
right?
So, and there's already a little bit of some issues there. Right. So,
okay,
2025 winter. Okay. That makes sense. It really does, just because of the amount of time it takes to animate episodes, everything else, get them produced,
right,
edited. Yeah. I get it, but
when animation houses have multiple projects, it's okay.
Yeah,
I'll forgive them.
Next week would have been better, but we'll allow it. Is this the FSF Popcast? No, this is Patrick.
That one's mine.
That is yours. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's that.
You, I'm not Cal Dodd serenading you in an episode, but I love you.
So I'm interested about what happens with Wolverine, and then I'm most interested in the storyline of what's going on in Egypt with the Rise of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
that one actually has me very interested, because that storyline affects so many other things, so many other people. Kathleen says, if you really love me, you'd sing to me on the internet.
Because I love you, I won't sing. We've been over this.
Hold on.
No, ain't gonna happen.
It was worth a try. It was worth a try. I was like, well, maybe if I took myself off the screen and you didn't feel like you were singing to me. No. Okay.
Whereas we know how much Guinness it takes for you to serenade Tater Tots, we know it's just never a good idea to get me to sing.
4 Guinnesses and 2 shots of Jameson, and I will sing to Tater Tots. So, just saying. I've done the
Didn't
math.
happen.
You'd let me dye your beard blue?
Possibly. We can talk about it.
All right. What are you looking forward to in the next season?
Next, just finding out where they're taking these stories. Because whereas, like I said, I've read these books, but this is a new interpretation. And I like being surprised, even if I do read the last chapter first. You know, finding a new twist, something I didn't expect, didn't anticipate. A new interpretation of the old art is always fun. That comes at a cost, Kathleen. Glitter comes at a cost.
Okay, so yeah, there's I do like to see the interpretations. I'm always kind of curious how they interpret from page to live action.
Yeah.
I think that there's always some nuances there. Some things will be different. They and by default they have to be different because you're going from the ability, you know, somebody's drawing to
Yeah.
Y'all gonna have to work this out off camera.
This is a family show, y'all.
Exactly. Yeah, it is, Brandon. It's the nostalgia of things, being able to see those things tie in and how they all work together. It's always very exciting to me to see how they make that work, from animation to live action or from comic book to live action. I think it's always very cool. So I'm excited to see that. But we do want to remind you that hey, check us out on Patreon, guys. If you haven't already, we just revamped our Patreon level. So there's a $1 level, a $3 level, and a $15 level. Now the 1 and 3, for the $1 level, you get early access to every one of our interviews and anything else that we do, any AMAs or stuff like that. At the $3 level, you get those items, but you also get access to bonus content that nobody else is getting access to and is not published anywhere else. We don't put it on our YouTube channel. We don't put it anywhere else. So it's only on our Patreon channel. And then finally, that for the $15 level, you'll have opportunity to come on 2 live shows in the span of the 12-month period. One for a regular live show on our Monday night, and one, if you are interested or would like to, you can join us as a one-off character for one of our Star Wars RPGs. So you'll be able to roll some dice with us, have some nerd fun, and participate in that as well. But we can, we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, and we're recording our next game due to some scheduling issues. So we'll be recording this weekend.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, and then I'll be posted on Monday.
As soon as all of the players are leveled up to level 11 where they should be.
Yeah.
As
a parting thought, Kathleen says, I'm not on camera, but I'm back on my bullcrap.
So
you got that going. You got that going for you.
She never left it.
This is also true.
I can say that because I'm safely in here.
All right, guys. Check us out. If you haven't already, click like and subscribe on this video and help us out there. And then also check us out over on Patreon. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed season 1 of X-Men 97. We're looking so forward to X-Men 97 season 2. And we'll have some fun for you next week on another Live at 5. So until then, goodbye. Toodles.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.